Servant Leadership by Group 2.
Servant leadership theory. The phrase servant leadership was first introduced in Robert Greenleaf's 1970 published essay, The Servant as Leader. The concept behind Greenleaf's writings insisting that you are a servant first by focusing on the needs of others before you focus on your own needs. The main goal is to create healthy organizations that nurture individual growth, producing a positive impact on society and strengthening organizational performance. This theory is also about serving a higher purpose, and if the purpose is recognized by everyone in that organization, then pretty much everyone is basically a servant to that purpose. The central focus of servant leadership is based on 7 leadership behaviors. Those behaviors are conceptualizing, emotional healing, putting followers first, helping followers grow and succeed, behaving ethically, empowering, and creating value for communities. The servant leadership theory is a very social leadership style and has also become very common in management today. There are several companies who basically seek out servant leaders, and some of the most popular ones would be 7-Eleven, Chick-fil-A, Darden restaurants that include Red Lobster and Olive Garden, Marriott International, Nordstrom, and Whole Foods.
Servant leadership can be treated as a trait approach or a behavioral approach. For example, one of the antecedent conditions in the servant leadership model is leader attribute, which can be thought of as traits. Additionally, the team management category within leadership grid tries to put the needs of the followers in high regard, just like the servant leadership style. Servant leadership has also been studied in relation to authentic leadership, ethical leadership, and transformational leadership. The conclusion of Hodge, Balmer, Dulbone, and Wu's study shows not much overlap between transformational leadership and servant leadership, thus implying servant leadership is its own leadership style. Lastly, Newman, Schwarz, and Sanjaya demonstrate expansion of the leadership studies by showing an increase in organizational citizenship behavior in followers through the leader-member exchange mechanism at the core of servant leadership.
Criticisms on servant leadership. To begin, we can focus on the 4 points that Robbins and Judge address. Number 1, the paradoxical title, which is contradictory to the idea that leaders are meant to lead. However, servant leadership implies leaders take the role of following. Second, there's no common definition or theoretical framework that scholars can agree on. Third, similar to number 1, the authors address the conflicting notion that this type of leadership places others first instead of directing, setting goals and visions, etc., which are all common principles of leadership. They also mention the need for further studies to validate this theory. And number 4, there's confusion on the idea that conceptualizing is a key behavior. There's no clear explanation as to why it is a key characteristic, however. Dr. Eugene T. also presents his own points. He explains that servant leaders may become fatigued as they take time to listen to their subordinates. Second, because this type of leadership places emphasis on relationship, subordinates may expect to be prioritized. This may negatively affect organizations because tasks are not seen as important. And number 3, organizations that are task-driven do not benefit from this leadership. Dr. Eugene goes further and explains that in extreme scenarios, servant leaders may find themselves being exploited or disrespected by their own subordinates.
New material on the servant leadership approach. Is this theory being exercised? Yes, it is a huge movement present day, with a great tool being greenleaf.org website. It has a lot of Robert Greenleaf's work. It promotes educational programs, training, and development based on this leadership approach. Is there evidence that application of this theory can improve the bottom line? There is plenty of evidence pointing to greater productivity, employee satisfaction, and collaboration amongst employees. Employees are willing to make more sacrifices for the good of the company and customers, therefore increasing customer satisfaction. It allows you to improve yourself in order to improve others, which has a potential to spill over into the local communities. An example is the State Farm neighborhood of good. How can it be adapted to leaders at different levels of the organization through training, workshops, and conferences? And there's an upcoming international summit in Wisconsin in June.
Group assessment. Servant leadership theory can be useful and helpful in organizations that place an emphasis on employee development and growth. On the flip side, it can be a hindrance in organizations that are task-driven, such as commission-based jobs. Similar to what was just mentioned, depending on the organization's mission and vision, this type of leadership can be viewed as practical. It can be practical and effective, however, if balanced with a task-oriented type of leadership. This theory can be challenging when subordinates form their own expectations. Because this leadership style places focus on the people, when leaders shy away from this, subordinates may become unsatisfied. This theory was popularized in 1970 by Robert Greenleaf, which was around 49 years ago. There are many successful companies hiring servant leaders because of their organization's culture and mission. It is actively being used in popular companies such as Starbucks, which recently began to offer employees help with free college tuition. Companies want managers that put their employees first.